So Jonesboro has wrapped up, and I bet a lot of you have only watched MPO, which was electric, but we have a lot more to talk about than just that. So might as well start off with the lighter topic. It was a head-to-head matchup between Eagle and Calvin. There really wasn't too much going on in their entire round. I think wind played a major factor in that. And they both were about 2 under on the front 9, which is definitely not where you need to be, especially when you have cases like yesterday where there was a 17 under. That is just not a hot round when you need to perform to get the win. And they each had some OB throws, which contributed to that. But overall, it just wasn't a great play up until the later holes where things start to get a little bit more competitive, and it was actually looking like it was going to be an Eagle kind of walkaway victory after 15, but knowing Calvin, he can never seem to not eagle hole 16, and that is exactly what he needed to, because Eagle just took a birdie, which hilariously enough will lose you strokes on the field. And then we get to hole 17 where it's looking like Eagle was again probably going to take it down because Calvin was pretty out of position, had to get a miracle upshot just to pitch up for par, but Eagle could not get the birdie. And so we go to hole 18, which of course brings me flashbacks to last year where it was Paul versus Calvin versus Kevin. And of course, if you had to put money on it, I think I'd probably go with Calvin being the takeaway winner, but Eagle with his tremendous hyzer shot over the trees seems to also be a pretty consistent play even with some wind, but that was not the case. Eagle hit right into some wooded area, went OB, and that was pretty much all she wrote. From Calvin's position, he basically could just pitch up for par and not really have to worry about too much, whereas Eagle was OB from way behind, basically with nothing to do. So he actually took a triple on that hole, leaving Calvin with the easy victory with a 3-stroke win. And this marks the 3rd victory for Calvin at this event. Totally awesome. He's able to continuously get the win. I was definitely a little bit bummed that Kevin did not perform nearly as well with a 44th finish, but that's all good. And you could clearly tell this was affecting Eagle because he did not like how his tee shot went. He snapped something in his hand right after his drive, and you could tell the amount of frustration and upsetness he had, knowing that he could have won this event if he had just played it a little bit safe. But with that said, I think Eagle actually threw this shot every single round and it worked out well. It was just a little bit windier, so that's pretty hard to plan for. But now let's move to the real story, FPO. And this might be, to me, the single most impactful event I've ever seen. I think this might be more intense than Worlds 2021, definitely more eventful than Worlds 2022 and USGDC 2022. But I came into this not really expecting too much. I thought, yeah, it's gonna be a close battle. Like maybe Kristen will get the win. She was a little bit behind, but maybe she could get there. With that said, another European really climbed up the ranks. Evelina showed up, got a 10 under with a 5th place finish to beat Kristen, and she actually got a 6th place finish, which again, it doesn't matter that she's out of the podium, but it is crazy that a bad finish for Kristen is still 6th place. But onto the real story. It was a battle between Kat Mertsch and Hailey King, and it was looking like it was probably going to be a Kat win, but with some pretty bad putting from Kat's part and some amazing play from Hailey, who can never seem to actually get pars. It's either birdie, eagle, or bogeys. Hailey was climbing the ranks fast, birdieing 5 through 7, but Kat was playing slow and steady, had a 38-foot putt on hole 5 and sprinkled in a couple more birdies, but around hole 16, you could certainly tell something was different. Hailey looked pretty dialed in, but 1,000% Kat Mertsch was a different human than what I know her to be. There was a certain focus, there was a certain look, there was just a lot of obvious things going on that I did not expect to see in a disc golf tournament. And if you just watch highlights or just watch even Jomez, I'm not sure what level they're going to cover, but just watching them in a shortened, condensed version will not really do it justice for how intense Kat's overall essence was. Her play style wasn't actually anything remarkable. She basically parred out from 15 on. And Hailey threw some really great shots, got a 49-foot putt on hole 15, and it was clear that this was definitely a more Hailey day than a Kat day, but as it turned out, they were tied on hole 18. Kat threw a drive way short, and Hailey had a pretty good distance on her drive, so it was looking like it was probably going to be Hailey throwing an upshot to get an easy bird. Didn't actually work out that way. She had to just pitch up around the 50-foot area to get a look for birdie, which she missed, and so it was par for each person, letting us go into an amazing playoff. There was obviously some some good friendly vibes. Hailey and Kat were rooting for each other. They very clearly had some friendly vibes, and you can tell they're actively wishing the best for the other player. But then we go into playoff hole, and I was so excited to actually get a playoff. Haven't seen a whole lot of amazing playoffs happen on FPO, and while the play of the playoff wasn't actually that remarkable, you had Hailey hitting pretty early on the trees on the right, had to try to pitch out, didn't really get much distance, had to basically throw in from about 50 through the trees to make her par putt, and then you had Kat going way short, then basically getting a 100-footish upshot to take her par, and Hailey basically had no chance to get the win from that point. And by the way, on Hailey's upshot, the disc went past the basket and actually went very, very close to 3 groups of cameramen and nearly hit one person in particular. I think his name is Johnny Disc Golf. But I think this is another example of when we need to really, really focus on being aware of our surroundings, especially cameramen, especially spotters, because that could have altered a playoff event for the win, which cannot happen. But it was an easy tap in. Kat wins, and what happens next still kind of cuts me to my absolute core. Based upon things that she mentioned in an earlier Jomez video in round 1, which literally is crazy. It's the precursor to all of this. She actually opened up about her family life, about how much she has struggled while still maintaining a pretty good and positive outlook, and briefly mentioned how she tried to take her own life because of all the pain that she went through growing up. And then right around that lowest point is when she found disc golf and basically poured everything into disc golf, and seeing where she is now, it is truly remarkable how a simple thing like a frisbee can alter someone's entire, not to be cheesy, flight path. You may be going one way and then it takes you somewhere totally different. So it is clear, being an Arkansas native, being incredibly vulnerable and open about your emotions, everyone is rooting for Kat. And not only this, but of course, repping the Macho Man Randy Savage in the press conference, being probably 10 out of 10 comical as far as press conferences go, because it is a pretty lame topic most of the time. Having that energy and good vibes really brought out hilarity in a spot that doesn't often get represented. So when she got that putt for the win, everybody erupted, she erupted. And when I say she erupted, I think you will just have to see and experience what that truly meant. So there is clearly a lot going on for her with this win, what this means for her, and I just feel shaken to my core with how emotional and how true and raw this moment was. And I am not even sure if the cameraman knew what to do. I'm not sure if Terry knew what to do. There was so much pouring out of Kat in that moment, and you can tell that this clearly went from an enjoyable thing in disc golf to being cemented as her career and proving everybody that she is here to stay, and more loosely, that she can do anything, which of course sounds a little bit cheesy, but when it comes to tour, when it comes to life in general, being validated that you are doing the right thing, that you can do it, has to be tremendously impactful no matter what you're doing in life. So while I don't know that there will be a ton of Kat wins for the rest of the season, I'm overall so excited that we have her in the sport. We have such a positive influence that is always willing to be honest, open, and hilarious, because so many times the sport is taking itself far too seriously, and we need to just let loose, have fun, and just be real. So once again, I highly recommend you check out the full round unedited and truly focus on the amount of sincerity and intensity that Kat was showing, especially on the later holes, because that transition between goofy Kat to very focused, dialed in, serious Kat is one of the most transformative things I've ever seen in disc golf, and I bet it will also shake you to your core. So with that said, let me know what you guys think. If you just watched MPO, let me know what you think about Calvin. But more seriously, wow, what a finish for FPO. This is crazy. Thank you guys for watching. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.